100 kilograms and crush a spine in a single bite, while the largest gray wolf ever measured barely broke 80. Same continent, same apex status. For times the mass, why did one branch of predator go giant while the other stayed medium? Forever you have probably noticed something strange walk through any zoo on Earth, and you will find lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, cheetahs, animals built like small vehicles, engineered purely to kill. Then you reach the wolf enclosure, and they are just medium. Both wolves and tigers are apex predators. Both have terrorized entire continents for thousands of years. Both sit at the very top of their food chains with nothing above them. So why did the cats become giants and the dogs never did? Most people assume the answer is simple. Cats just happened to end up bigger. That is how the dice landed. Move on. But that is not the answer. And once you understand the real one, you will never look at your own dog the same way again. Because this is not actually a story about animals in the wild, it is a story about two competing survival strategies that split apart millions of years ago. Two different paths nature experimented with, and one of those paths leads directly into your living room. Directly into why you are the kind of creature that bonds with other species in the first place. Stay with me until the end, because the last piece of this will completely change the way you see every dog you have ever loved. Let's start with what big actually means in nature's terms. A healthy Siberian tiger weighs as much as two grown men combined. It can drag a carcass heavier than its own body straight up a near vertical cliff face. It can kill a fully grown brown bear. It can take down prey 5 times its own weight in a matter of seconds. And it does every bit of that completely alone. No teammates, no backup. Just one animal and 400 kilograms of pure killing architecture. Lions bend that rule slightly, hunting in coordinated prides. But a single lioness can still bring down a wildebeest by herself if she has to. The raw power to solo kill something enormous is built into the hardware. Now picture a wolf standing next to that tiger, fast, relentless, unervingly intelligent. But physically, it would look like a medium-sized family dog beside a monster, because that is roughly what it is. The largest wolves alive, the Mackenzie Valley wolves of northern Canada, top out around 80 kilograms on an exceptional day. Most wild wolves spend their whole lives between 35 and 55. A tiger can outweigh them by a factor of 4 to 6. So what actually happened here? Why did one branch of the predator family tree produce these towering, almost mythological killers, while the others simply refused to grow? The answer starts with how each animal decided to hunt. Here is what a tiger does. It hunts entirely alone. Because it has no other choice. It burns so much energy that a single tiger needs a private hunting territory of up to 1,000 square kilometers just to keep itself fed. There is no room for a partner, no room for sharing a kill. It is a one-animal enterprise from birth to death. So evolution built the tiger into the perfect solo killing machine. Forelimbs loaded with explosive, fast twitch muscle, retractable claws that stay razor sharp because they never touch the ground. A skull engineered to generate bite force capable of crushing a spine in one clench. Hind legs coiled like springs for an instant. Explosive launch. It finds cover, goes still for hours if it has to, then detonates, covering 10 meters in a single bound before the prey even registers what is happening. This is ambush predation. And ambush predation applies one very specific evolutionary pressure over millions of years. Size wins. If you are killing something alone, you need to be physically large, enough to overpower it alone. A tiger, even slightly too small, starves. A tiger, just large enough, survives and breeds. So the big ones kept winning and kept getting bigger, generation after generation. Now picture wolves instead. They do not ambush, they run their target into the ground, choosing the weakest animal in a herd and chasing it for kilometers across open country, not in a sprint, but in a merciless, rotating pace. Different wolves take the lead, while others fall back to recover. They read each other's body language mid-chase. They cut off escape routes. As a team, a pack of 6 average-sized wolves can bring down a full-grown moose that would destroy any single one of them in a fair fight. This is cursorial predation, chasing rather than ambushing. And it flips the pressure completely. Size stops being an advantage and starts becoming a liability. What matters now is endurance, coordination, and the ability to sustain speed without burning out. A wolf that gets too heavy runs out of fuel 20 kilometers into a chase and falls behind. So wolves stayed lean, they stayed medium. Because medium was the winning number for the life, they had chosen 2 survival strategies, 2 completely different bodies. But here is the part almost nobody knows. The twist that changes the whole story: giant dog-like predators actually existed once they were real. And they were enormous around 10 million years ago. A creature called Epicyon walked across North America. It was a true canid, a fully paid-up member of the dog family. And it weighed up to 170 kilograms. Heavier than a male African lion, it had a massive skull built for raw crushing power. Jaws that could shatter bone the way a hyena's can. Today's scientists sometimes call it the bone-crushing dog. And it was one of the largest land carnivores alive on the entire continent at that time. So we did have a giant dog once. Why don't we have one now? Because Epicyon went extinct roughly 5 million years ago. And the reason it disappeared explains almost everything about the world we see today. Epicyon had gambled on a middle path. It pushed towards solitary size and raw power. But it was not quite a cat. It never developed the retractable claws or the burst muscle architecture of a true ambush hunter, and it was not quite a wolf either, having drifted too far from the lean cooperative model. That makes pack hunting efficient. It was trapped between two working strategies, fully committed to neither. Then the climate shifted, grasslands expanded, prey patterns changed overnight in evolutionary terms, and the animals that could adapt quickly survived. The flexible, social, medium-sized pack hunters adjusted. Epicyon, dragging around 170 kilograms of hungry body mass that needed enormous quantities of meat just to keep functioning, could not pivot fast enough. That is the hidden tax on being a giant solitary carnivore. The energy bill never stops. A pack of lean wolves can survive lean seasons by spreading out, sharing information, adjusting territory as a group. A solitary giant has none of those options when conditions turned hard. Epicyon had no way to cooperate its way out of the crisis, and nature quietly deleted it from the record. So then you might ask, if being an enormous solo predator is that risky, how did cats get away with it? Why didn't tigers and lions collapse the same way Epicyon did? Here is the detail almost nobody thinks about: retractable claws. A cat's claws stay sheathed inside soft tissue when they are not needed, so they never scrape against rock or dirt, never dull with use when a tiger needs to seize a fighting, thrashing animal twice its size. Those claws snap out like grappling hooks and lock on. That is what lets one cat control something enormous without losing its grip mid-kill. A dog's claws, by contrast, hit the ground with every single stride and stay permanently worn down. A dog cannot grip large struggling prey the way a cat can. It relies on bite force and violent head shaking instead, which works fine at medium scale, but completely fails once you try to reliably kill something several times your own weight. Solo scale a wolf up to tiger size, and you don't get a bigger predator, you get a broken one. Too heavy to sustain a long chase. But without the claw architecture to ambush and hold on, it falls into exactly the trap that killed Epicyon. Before we get to the part that will actually change how you see your own dog, I want to know something from you down in the comments. Tell me which one you'd bet on in a straight fight, a lone tiger or a full wolf pack, because the answer might not be what you think. And I genuinely want to see your reasoning. Now here is where this stops being a story about wild animals and becomes a story about you. Think about your dog right now. It follows you from room to room, all day, every day. Unable to tolerate losing sight of you for more than a few minutes, it watches you eat with total focus. It howls when you leave the house and greets you at the door like you have returned from a month-long expedition rather than a 40-minute grocery run. That is not just personality, that is millions of years of pack wiring, fully intact, simply redirected at you. Your dog genuinely experiences you as its pack, and the ancient instinct underneath that behavior is brutally simple. Stay with the group, track the group, signal when it separates, celebrate when it reunites. Because in the wild, losing the pack meant death. Now think about your cat. It sleeps 12 to 16 hours a day, conserving energy exactly the way a burst power ambush hunter is supposed to. It stalks toys, shadows, pieces of string. With total silent focus, it vanishes for hours and returns with no explanation and no guilt. It never needed to track your location the way a dog does, because it was never built around social dependency in the first place. And here is the final twist that reframes the entire story: when humans domesticated dogs somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, we started shaping them almost immediately. And over centuries of selective breeding, some grew genuinely large. A full-grown English Mastiff can top 110 kilograms. A Great Dane can reach 90. An Irish Wolfhound can stand tall enough to look a grown adult in the eye. So technically, giant dogs do exist. We built them ourselves. But look closely at what every single one of those breeds was created for. The Great Dane was bred to hunt wild boar. Beside human hunters, the Mastiff was bred to guard human settlements alongside human fighters. The Wolfhound was bred to run down large prey until humans could arrive and finish the job. Every giant dog we ever built was designed as an extension of a human and dog team. We never built a dog to be a lone apex predator, because that was never what the dog family was. For 40 million years of evolution was never pointing toward size. It was pointing toward the capacity to bond, to cooperate, to read another creature's signals so precisely that it could partner with an entirely different species and turn that partnership into one of the most successful arrangements in the history of life on this planet. Which brings us to the actual answer: big cats exist because the cat family committed to solitary ambush hunting, a path that rewards raw individual power and compound size over generations. Big wild dogs never developed because the dog family chose the opposite path: cooperation, endurance, and shared effort, a path where giant size becomes a liability instead of an asset. Nature even ran the experiment for us. It gave Epicyon 170 kilograms of muscle, crushing jaws, and an entire continent to roam. And it still lost to medium-sized animals that knew how to stick together. The dogs that survived were never the biggest ones. They were the ones that stayed close to their group, and eventually they found something even better than their own pack. They found us. The animal curled up at the foot of your bed right now is the living conclusion of that entire multi-million-year story. Proof that bonding outlasts brute force, that knowing your group and staying loyal to it beats raw physical power. When things fall apart, your dog was never built to be the size of a tiger. It figured out something the tiger never did. And if this kind of deep dive into why animals evolved the way they did is something you want more of, subscribe, because there are a lot more of these stories still to tell.